how is a text sent? This is very fundamental, and we're going to get it. This is going to relate to costs. So I put this link in here. What is a segment? But I'll just do the blurbs here, and then I'll provide you with the resource link later so that you can read up on it. We have a whole blog on it with a bunch of examples. It's really nice. You can also look up to validate that, we're doing what's right for you. And you can go look at Twilio or any major telecom player, like look outside of cannabis. This is how they charge and how they send messages. So back in the day, if you remember, like Nokia phones with Snake on them, that game, those texting has been around for a while and the protocol has not changed. So we're still working off of the same protocol from many, many years ago. So what happens is texts are basically sent using Unicode bytes. I don't want to get too technical, but essentially it breaks down into like code. So you can see right here, this is a character, a special character. It actually breaks down into this Unicode couple of digits here. So it is not one character, it is all of these characters combined to make this one special thing. The same thing applies with an emoji. So when you see this, one message segment is typically 160 characters or 140 bytes of Unicode. Everything in charges boils down to segments, everything. So all these parties in that flow I showed you before, that's how they get paid, that's how they charge. It starts with segments. The devices that are older, to give you an example, if you remember, you might send a very long message to a friend or a family member, and it would come in and it would make multiple bubbles, right? It would say like, this is text 1 of 2, text 2 of 2, text 3 of 3, right? And you remember how it was separate messages. That still is what happens to your iPhone. When a message comes in, it comes in like that, and then the iPhone will reconstruct it and make it a single bubble so it has a nicer user interface. But if it didn't do that, you would see every segment separated like you used to a long time ago. So things that separate segments quicker and make 100 or 160 characters less per segment is when you use special things. So if you send something like this, you have a new message from your friends at the Green Standard URL, reply stop to opt out. This is one segment. It's less than 160 characters. And by the way, you actually have less than 160 characters because there's a small amount of that 160 that is used by each telecom provider when you're routing and doing all this stuff. There's like a header basically. So you can see this is one segment. This is 3 segments. The reason this is 3 segments is because it has emojis and the character count is a little bit longer. So you have normal character count of the normal text, and then you have emojis, which as you can see over here with this special character, are actually multiple, they have to reconstruct out of Unicode to show those special characters. So this is actually 3 segments. It's not that much longer, but it does get the consumer's attention. So just, check that out. And then over here, you can see this is 2 segments. It's because it has the emojis, but it's the same length essentially as this. So another thing to be aware of is these special characters like the N or these curly quotes here are actually much longer than regular quotes. So to the telecom providers, you can double or triple your bill by using the wrong quotes. We have some safety mechanisms built into our system where the wrong quote might get swapped, but obviously there's hundreds of characters. Not all of that is covered. So make sure you use things wisely. So how many messages can be sent per second per phone number? Because you have a limit to how much these phone numbers can send. With a short code, you can blast 100,000 people extremely quickly. With normal phone numbers, you can only send, there's a couple variances to this, but 90% of the time, you can only send 1 message segment per second per phone number. So if you have 40,000 people to send a message to, that queue is going to be very long if you're using one. Not only that, it will show to the carriers, hey, you're sending out a blast message on a single phone number. It'll bury them in the queue, and it'll be much easier to flag you because you're going to be sending over the same message over time to a lot of people. If you send the same, if you send from your phone to to a friend the menu of your local dispensary, that's fine. It's a single message coming from a device to a device that you have probably already communicated to. You're not blasting hundreds of people at a time from a single number. This is peer-to-peer messaging. Application to person messaging, ATP, is different. We are an application. We allow for, scale. There's a lot of things that you need applications for to trigger messages at certain times, all that stuff. So that's completely treated separately. I just want to cover that. So what do people do? They use phone number pools to send faster. So they'll take a group of people, and that's, you'll take 200 people maybe. That's what I think is a good limit. Some people like to spend less. They might take 600 people and put them on a single phone number. And then that phone number can go through 600 people. Let's say it's one segment, 600 seconds, and you're done. But to do 40,000, 100,000 people very quickly, you're gonna need a lot of phone numbers. And generally we apply one phone number to every 200 people. The other good thing about this is the people that get messages will get the messages from you to the same number that they're used to, and not 15 different numbers. So that's that. Another thing to note is on 10DLC, if you are on 10DLC, you get basically a maximum of 49 numbers. You can increase that, but there's fees associated. And those 49 numbers have faster throughput. They can send more messages per second, or MPS as most people refer to it. So prioritizing stakeholders is a great way to put your leadership, whoever wants to see texts quickly, at the top of the queue. So you can go to your settings page, go to team members, and then add people's numbers and emails and stuff to that priority queue, and it will put them up front. That's not to say they won't get the message quickly after, depending on the scale you have, but if they're number 120,000 in line and you want something sent out, it might be delayed if they're at the end, right?